Hello and welcome. This is slightly experimental. A while ago I had this idea that I would play through Quest for Glory, the whole series, with the intention of turning it all into a Dungeons and Dragons campaign. I have kind of winged a couple of these games as a live D&D game, and they work pretty well with a few obvious twists that you have to put in there. But I thought maybe we would sit down and do it a little more step by step, go through the thought process, and just see what works and what doesn't, and put together an actual document so anybody could just open up the PDF and play through these old classic games in a more social setting. These are some very integral games to my upbringing. I had these on Grandma's old computer, and my brother and I would spend a long time banging our head against these old point-and-click puzzles, trying to figure them out. Not quite as young as the toddler who is currently smashing his toys on the floor next to me. Say hi, Liam.
Hi.
So, there are 5 games in this series. Dungeons and Dragons technically goes to level 20. I like the idea of turning this into technically 5 different little campaigns you can run. You know, each of the 5 games is its own little section, and when I looked up the level ranges in Dungeons and Dragons, at least 5th edition, it actually turns out that 1 through 4, 5 through 8, etc., as you go, lines up pretty well with their system of renown, where you start out as just like the local hero, and then you're kind of like the area hero, and then the country hero, and then the world hero kind of idea. And that really does kind of scale with the threats in these games, because one of the groundbreaking things that these games did was they were one of the first games that let you keep your progress. You made your character, these days it's common. You load up Mass Effect or whatever, and it automatically looks up your save data, pulls your character forward. That wasn't how things worked back in the day. To do it in this game, you have to put in a floppy disk, which means you need a floppy drive, or you manipulate the files because we have better computers now. And you were intended to put it on a real floppy disk, and then put the floppy disk back in to import your guy into the next game, because there was no way to save it on the computer at the time. So, the intention here is we're going to count this game as level 1 through 4. So we're starting at level 1. I don't know if we're going to count beating the game as what ticks you up to level 4, or if that's what ticks you up to 5 to start the next one, perhaps, maybe. But that's why we're here. That's why we're going to play through the game. We're going to take a look at the events of the game, see where the good, bookmark moments are. Obviously, as something like this, you're going to do level ups via milestones. So we're going to look for those milestones. And there's a couple of obvious ones in this game that'll probably be it. But we're going to spitball the ideas as we go. This is also kind of a walking tour of this game. I'm not going to whip up the spreadsheet and start actually putting in the DCs and the monster stats and everything right now, but we're going to make some notes. When we see something like, oh, we need to keep this in mind. For example, you meet a character. Some of the characters are recurring through the game, so if the players do something to, for example, the innkeeper, the innkeeper is very important to the second game, so you might want to make sure the innkeeper stays safe. Otherwise, the second game doesn't happen. You're going to have to put some twists on that. But there's a lot of interesting things in here. Let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to start a new hero. And right away, you're going to see some early Dungeons & Dragons influence just right there. You have 3 character classes to pick from. Fighter, Wizard, Thief, basically. Each of them have different puzzle solutions. And while the main game works basically the same, there are some scripted parts that only one character class can access. So what we're going to do for the purposes of this is, I think we're going to go ahead and pick Thief and then give ourselves magic. And that should let us be able to at least walk into every screen in this game. Because we're taking a tour. So Thief it is. As DOSBox pretends it's loading. So, if you've played any of the Bethesda games, like Mass Effect is the obvious one, but a lot of... Elder Scrolls is the one I'm thinking of. If you've played Elder Scrolls, this might look familiar. All of these are your stats, but they go up as you use them. So the more we pump iron, the more strength we're going to get. The more we dip, dive, and duck, the more dodge we're going to get. Sneaking around will raise stealth just passively over the course of the game. Right now, we're just going to give ourselves magic. That's going to take up quite a bit of our chunk there. And parry literally gives you access to one thing, which is... It locks us out of being able to do it, but I don't think Thief can do it anyway, so we're going to skip parry. There's no point in having that. And just to make our lives a little easier, we're going to go ahead and level up our vitality with our available points. And we'll put a strength in to start. And some pick locks. Just, I'm trying to minimize how much grinding we end up having to do. Throwing and climbing are pretty quick. Nobody uses dodge. Alright. Just trying to minimize how much grinding I have to do in the middle of a tour. So, like a lot of Dungeons & Dragons campaigns, you end up starting in town. And it has, I mean, if I was putting in the full hardcover book edition, they have descriptions for like every screen. You just copy and paste it right in there. You know, this seems like a quiet little town. On the porch ahead of you are 2 people. The standing one is large, rather ugly, and playing with a yo-yo. The seated person smoking a pipe looks like he might be the sheriff. The man with the pipe greets you. Welcome to our town. You are lucky to have made it down from the mountains before the snow blocked the pass again. It's gotten pretty dangerous outside of town, I understand. Literally seconds into the game, right? They have already set that there are no reinforcements. You can very easily start your game in, we'll say, kept going. Trapped around here with the late snow. Them and the Brigans, we could use a hero around here. I'm the sheriff, good luck. So, what I was saying, for the purposes of your Dungeons & Dragons campaign, especially a level 1 campaign with no true open world map, as if you're a new DM or something, this is great. This is great. The players are trapped here. They're level 1. They're not going to cheat their way back out. There is a pass to leave, but at least for the duration of this campaign, or this portion of the campaign, they can't leave this valley. I believe this is supposed to take place in spring, and it was just an unusually late snow, blocked the pass again. Are they trapped forever? No. Just until the pass is clear again. And nobody's going to go shovel it out, because apparently there's brigands. It's dangerous to go outside. There's a lot of little... Excuse me. There's a lot of little things that this game did. So I'm going to go ahead and save the game just to see if... override my test game. Let's see if it'll even let me attack. Despite your intentions, you feel a calmness and sense of peace descend upon you as you even consider thoughts of violence. There is an in-game lore reason that you cannot ransack the town. You cannot just go kill everybody. No matter how murder hobo-y your party is, there is a legitimate in-game reason why they cannot attack or commit any form of harm within the bounds of the town. With, a few little asterisks, but they have to learn about that later. This was something that I wouldn't expect to have needed, but over time, man, people joke about, oh, we just murder everyone in the town and take all their stuff and move on. I've never seen it really happen, but there's so many times where they come close. They just come really close to crossing that line and to just loot the town and leave. And then what? Right? Well, you also can't even leave. There's no leaving here. It's bouncing the yo-yo off our head. So, one of the things you got to do in converting this to 5th edition, Dungeons and Dragons, or any other system, you have to decide on how you want to do your map. The town, like if you go to map out this whole game, it's almost perfectly grid. You can use graph paper and make a perfect map of this game, except for the town. But town is usually just, boop, it's a town on the map. There are 4 map screens and some interiors. Right here we have the Hero's Tale Inn. Alright, enough of that goon. Technically there's a butcher, and I think there's a barber further on, but there's only a few houses you can actually go in, because this was still the 16-bit era. I should mention this is the VGA remake even. This is not the original. The original one's kind of hard to even look at. It has some very interesting color choices. If you're not familiar with the Quest for Glory games, you might want to also look at this score up here in the corner. The game has an internal checklist of the deeds that you do throughout the game to give you a point of reference for how far you are in the game at all times. One of the things you could do is just go write down, make a spreadsheet, get them all, and then as your players work through things, maybe every 100 score, that's the level up. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then, to get the last bit, that's beating the game. So you're moving on to level 5, boom, next game. Right there. Quick, dirty, easy, if that's how you want to do it. I have a little more specific milestones in mind, but that would work if you were doing, especially like Adventurers League doesn't let you bring your own stuff, but so here we have something I don't see in Dungeons and Dragons very often, and we should. This should be a real thing. The Adventurers Guild. Like, why is there no adventurers? You always meet in a tavern. Why is it not... Oh, hey, Irix. I was hoping somebody would come by. The other one I might have to text. But yes. Just started exploring the town a little bit, getting some ideas for which things Dungeons and Dragons can use, which things we can skip. This is the Adventurers Guild. You've got your old man. You got a bunch of trophies on the walls, and I love the detail that they put into this really old game. There's a lot of little nuance to this that you don't notice when you're just wandering through the game. So, just what we have right here, we've got the old guy. You can talk to the characters. I'm not going to sit here and read all of the text, but he tells you about the area. He gives you a couple hints of like interesting locations nearby. He's a great source of rumors. So if your players walk in here, it's like, there you go. There's a guy they can talk to. He's kind of the adventure-y kind of guy. The sheriff can give you like current events. But one of the more subtle things they do here is those trophies on the walls. Yeah, there's the moose, you know, courtesy of the Sierra Online prop department. Very funny. But then over here, the panther with a strong human-like quality, the cheetar. That's an actual enemy you fight in this game. You can look at that. You can look at the troll. You can look at, I think that's a griffin, the saurus. It gives you the enemies in the game, and you can then talk to... the cheetar is one of the hardest things in the game to fight, for sure. It kind of does cheat, but that's just a programming quirk. But yes, you can ask the old man about those enemies, and he can give you clues on how you're supposed to beat them. Instead of just wandering out into the wilderness, and as the DM, you're like, all right, there's a thing, and it's kind of lizardy, and they're like, is it a velociraptor? And then you got half an hour of Jurassic Park quotes before they even try fighting the thing. But if they've already looked and been like, oh, if it's a lizardy bipedal thing, it's probably that saurus, like we saw. And they go, oh, saurus. The guildmaster says, I mean, there's your clue also, slain by Hans Halfwit. Yeah, the saurus is a level 1 enemy. Go ahead and fight it. But, you know, you click on some of these, slain by Wolfgang Abentoir, that's this guy. He's the one who killed it. So it takes the experienced guy to kill that and that. Who killed this one? Antwerp, slain by 2 guys from Andromeda. That's an Easter egg. There's a lot of those in this game. Another thing that they do that tries to get shoehorned. Players go to the tavern and they look for rumors and quests and stuff. Why would that be in a tavern? Should be in an adventurer's guild. And here we have the actual quests. Reward for lost ring. Very old poster for bringing back Elsa von Spielburg. So the Baron of the land, his daughter was captured years ago because it's dusty and faded. She's been gone a long time. That's the main quest. You complete that quest, you win the game. It literally rolls credits as soon as you turn that quest in. Kill the bad guy magic user. Kill the Brigand leader. Here's your hint that you can bring spell components to the healer. So all those times when you kill the wolf and the player goes, hey, I want to loot the wolf, and you go, it's a wolf, it doesn't have a purse, it doesn't have a little, bow around its neck with a gold coin dangling off of it. And so then they go, well, fine, we're just going to take the wolf corpse and see if we can sell it to somebody. It's like, no. Specific things from specific enemies. Cut that off ahead of time. Nobody wants troll feet. nobody's going to buy them. They're just going to take up players' inventory, and they're going to complain when they don't work over and over again. I will say, if they come up with a good idea, a good reason, I could see troll blood, because trolls traditionally regenerate. Maybe they want something troll related because they think it'll give them a regeneration ability. Maybe. But you know who you need to ask about that stuff? The healer. The game has already told you who to ask about that stuff. And then reward for saving the older kid. The Baron lost 2 kids. So we haven't even talked to anybody. We figured out Baron of the land lost both of his kids. There's brigands. The brigands have magic backup. That's why we're here. I think in the lore of the game, you literally found... In the lore of the game, you literally are here because you found like a help wanted poster. It's like hero wanted. And it's like old and crappy, and you just got out of hero school, so you came here. That's literally why you're here. You are level 1 and have no abilities. Which they will also mention right here. There's a book on the table, which as a point and click game, obviously you click on all of the things you can find. You'll have to, as a dungeon master, you have to describe things or the players won't know that they're there. You sign your name into the adventurer's logbook with a flourish. Well, now I can read the logbook. Fine, eye icon. I will read the logbook. I think I was supposed to read it before I signed it. In most of the games, you go to the logbook and it'll give you other hints, like who else has been here. I think this one just says that, like, it's been years since there was anybody here. Like, I think Wolfgang might be the last entry. So you've got... You know you're alone. There's nobody else here because there's nobody in the logbook. And this guy is obviously old. He's the stereotypical old guy falling asleep in his chair when you look away. I'm going to see if I can increase my run speed a little bit here. There we go. Good old moving GIFs or GIFs. You got a magic shop. She actually gives you an important hint. If you talk about Spielburg, you ask about the town. There is an aura protecting this town from danger. Within its walls, no active violence or cruel magic. Even so, avoid dark places. So if your players are mad that they didn't get to murder the shopkeep and take all their stuff for free, that's because there's literally an enchantment protecting the town. That's why this little town in the middle of nowhere that technically has a castle and guards nearby, but like the brigands are obviously running amok. This is why the town is okay. The town literally cannot be attacked. All the townspeople stay in the town. The great spellcaster Erana cast that spell. So for the purposes of what we're doing here, this is a great time to just start dropping some of the lore of Erana. She's basically the Gandalf of this game, or of this series, I should say. But as of right now, she's already dead. The players don't know that. Doesn't matter to the game at all. You can get through all 5 games, never really interact with Erana herself. But if you know about her, it makes things so much easier. They drop clues in every single game about her. She's a recurring character who never appears until...
Stop doing that!
Stop doing what?
Stop recording!
I don't want to.
You do stop recording.
What do you want?
I will record with you.
Oh, you want to record with me? You want to sit on my lap?
Yeah.
Okay. You can sit on my lap. Alright, let's see if this works. Good, it worked. So, off the top of my head, I believe she is the magic shop. She is the source of information about magical things in the town. I believe she can also tell you about the prophecy.
I just made the square. Like I just made a square.
Yep, you made a square. So, as in most old school fantasy games, there is a prophecy, and there's a few of the more knowledgeable characters that know it.
They're like
Hey, don't put the magnets by the computer.
I want to put on your desk.
Okay, you can put it over there.
It did. Whoopsies. It didn't also have a square. It didn't have a square hole.
All right, Liam, you gotta be quiet if you're gonna sit and watch. So,
It's you know this.
we'll actually learn the prophecy later, but it's something that you could even drop in earlier if you wanted. You could let Zara, the magic shop. Hi, if you want pizza, go eat your pizza.
I eat pizza.
Go eat your pizza. Attention span of a goldfish. Anyway, the prophecy basically says all of the main things you need to beat the game. No, you're not eating it in here. Go eat it at the table. So, the prophecy can... If your players are stuck, that's something you can just throw in almost at any time. Just the next person they talk to is like, hey, you came from the East, did you? Did you hear this poem about come a hero from the East is literally the first line? Alright, we got a shop. Something that I highly recommend that you always do in every Dungeons & Dragons campaign. Limit the shop. Do not let the players flip through the book for an hour at a time trying to buy 17,000 feet of rope. Limit them to reasonable, realistic things. So, like, this guy would have rope. Yes, he would have rope. Because it's like it's a general store in a little town. The only reason he has armor and dagger, if you talk to him, turns out with the book he's reading, he's a fanboy. He wanted to be an adventurer, but he's too nerdy. So instead, he just kind of stocks some cool stuff, hoping that an adventurer will come by and he'll get to talk to the adventurer when he sells him the cool stuff. So this is what he's got. He's got a suit of armor, and he sells daggers. That's all he's got. For the purposes of this game, that's all you need. You don't need 17 pickaxes. This guy's not rich. He's a merchant, but he's not like loaded with gold. So if you bring him 400 goblin short swords, he can't buy them. He might buy one of each thing, like one, as a novelty, like a collector's item. He's buying them not because he can sell them, but because it's cool to him. And once he already has one of whatever item it is that the players are trying to hawk, he doesn't need it anymore. He's already got one. So limit that gold intake. That's important for the balance of the first game. I'm going to bring up a lot of these... Hey. I'm going to bring up a lot of these game balance for this game specifically. Something like money. Money was very tight in the first game. Ridiculously tight. And completely worthless in every other game. Just like real Dungeons & Dragons. You're poor at first, and as soon as you finish that first quest and you've got 100 gold in your pocket, suddenly you are literally the wealthiest person in town, and nothing matters. Because you can bribe your way past every normal commoner. It's only the nobles who are still richer than you.
I need to put on your plate. I need to sit on your lap.
Okay, you can sit on my lap.
Oh, I need to get just
Here you go.
My teddy.
So, the other upside. I told you you couldn't eat your pizza in here. The other upside to limiting a shop. Please excuse the baby distraction. By limiting the shop, you also signal to the players what's important. By having your shopkeep say, I have this, and this, those are the things that they need to go, oh, this is what the Dungeon Master is telling me. Telling me that the shop has. Sure, you can let them buy other things if they have an idea. Like, oh, well, I might want to use one of these to solve this puzzle. Like, let them solve the puzzles in the not intended ways. Don't let them take the shop with them. I have to use a little bit of keyboard to navigate here because the mouse is not locked on the game. It's kind of hard to tell, but there is an alleyway here too. There's one beggar in the town, and you actually can tip him, and you actually get points for tipping him. And you can ask him about
that one.
The most important thing being night. The only people out late at night are thieves. And don't go outside at night. Let's ask about the thieves. So, the short version is he's warning you that this little corner of, this little corner of town is not protected by the charm that stops attacks. So if your players are trying to search down the Thieves Guild for some reason, you could maybe have a little interesting encounter right here. Like, when we get to actually writing down all of the encounters for the game, if they're wandering around at night and they go into the back alleys too close to the wall, the thieves can pop up against the wall, just barely out of the charm, and be able to throw daggers at you, and you would have to... and you can't attack back because you are inside the area of effect of the protection spell. Because it doesn't protect people, it stops people from attacking. There's an idea for an interesting in-town encounter that they might, if they're still level 1, have to talk their way out of. Maybe they have to give up their money. You can also do a similar thing if they're just being jerks about town. The actual bar, which they will probably go to first because they think players always think the bar is where everybody is. It's got a couple of important things to it. One, it's our first instance of bullcrap deaths. You know what I really want to say, but there's a baby. The bartender will sell you drinks. Everybody in town you talk to about the town says, do not drink the dragon's breath. That's one of the beers on tap. If you drink it, you die. This game does not autosave. We go sit on the bench. What do you want? Here's some money. There are remember, this 100% kills you every time. There's no way to do it right. They put a lot of work into the animations to just auto-kill you, which is something we need to discuss. This game was made back in the day when most games either assumed you could save your game and reload, or put in another quarter to keep playing. There's no autosaves, there's no backup, and let's just try that again. You sit here playing for 10 hours, and you click a button and you're like, I'll try the big one. I'm a big boy. Poof, dead. It's your fault. In terms of turning this into a Dungeons and Dragons campaign, makes it tricky because the price of failure in Sierra games is often death. And you don't want to just kill your players every single time they make a mistake. But if all you do is do 1 damage or some other piddly thing that they don't care about, they're not gonna count that as a mistake. They're gonna count that as, I didn't roll high enough. I'm gonna keep trying until I feel like I've rolled a high enough number to succeed. You know, if this was a Constitution saving throw, roll the die. It doesn't even matter what you set the DC is. Like, say they roll a 3, and their bonus at level 1 is 2, 3 maybe. They're like, oh, well, I just rolled low. It's like, all right, well, do I kill them on the spot? Of course not. You don't kill your players at level 1 for getting the wrong drink in the bar. What do? 2 damage? And they go, I got 6 HP. I can try that again and see if I can keep it down. And they'll keep banging their head against it, because if you give them a dice roll and they feel like they failed, they'll just keep it in mind to try it again later, over and over and over again. You need to make it clear this is the wrong thing to do, not that they didn't roll high enough. And when it is just a die roll, you need to make it clear that this was just a die roll, you didn't roll high enough. You need to just divide those in the easiest way, the thing that most dungeon masters don't realize. Don't make the players roll the dice to begin with. If you drink the dragon's breath, what I would do is I would do some damage and then add in the effect of the other one. If we go on here and we go 1 beer down, the troll sweat, it doesn't kill you. There you go. Bonk, unconscious, you wake up outside with all your money stolen. There's a good reason. Especially at level 1, they don't really have a lot of money, so they didn't truly lose anything. But there's a good way to keep them from doing that. You know what you need to buy from the bartender? Nothing. It's alcohol. It's not going to help. Now, looking at this from Dungeons & Dragons another way. If I'm the player and I know I'm not supposed to drink that, right? What am I going to want to do? I'm going to want to weaponize it. So, maybe you let them buy it and let them put it in a flask for later. I would even go so far as the next day tell them, oh hey, you notice that your flask is like starting to crack because it's like so acidic it's gonna like burn through your flask. So they can't just carry it around forever and try to use it as a Molotov cocktail. But if they have some idea they want to use and they're just like, blurp, give me that, and then we're going to run over there and see if that'll solve our problem. Okay, whatever. Let them try it. Warn them not to drink it. For the purposes of this game, the reason you come to the bar is actually the piece of paper. You pick up the note and it says, starting to get suspicious, hold off on our meetings, keep you posted by these notes. Does it give you any clues whatsoever what's going on? Nope. It tells you to come back and look for more notes later. So this is something that I've seen in a lot of games, that you have to walk past a certain screen or something, and then sometimes some random event will magically happen that, like, how would I have known that that was going to happen? Well, here you go. The very first time they walk into the bar, there's already a note on the ground that the Snoopy guy can pick up. I would also maybe reward the player who remembers to do something else. Reward the player that remembers to put the note back. Don't punish the players for forgetting that. Because there's a lot of ways to make the game unwinnable if you just start punishing the players for forgetting everything. But maybe give inspiration, or just maybe remember the good play of, hey, we better put that note back so the guy who's coming to get the note doesn't not get the note. Always, even if you don't do anything and you say, hey, that was a good idea, now the guy will get his note. Encourage good behavior. Don't encourage bad behavior. You kind of want to train your players. All right. This is far beyond my ability as a dungeon master, but the computer is perfectly capable of shutting down the shops in the afternoon and moving characters. I really want to write a Dungeons and Dragons campaign that's basically Majora's Mask, where you do a time loop and you have all the NPCs all move at a very specific pattern every day so the players can work through it. But that would be a lot of work. So, we've been through the town. The town is it's just about the right size. It has all of the main things, because when players go to a town, they're going to say, what's in the town? It's like, you don't need to tell them that there's a barber shop and a butcher shop and a stationery shop, because those are not going to be relevant. You can tell them, boom, there's a magic shop. Boom, there's a adventurer's guild. Hey, there's a tavern. Hey, there's a general goods store. And when they go to one of those areas, so they go, oh, I want to go to the magic shop. So you go to the magic shop, it's weird, brick building with an eye looking at you. It looks really out of place next to the old lady rocking on her rocking chair next to it, next door. You go to the main store, on your way to the main store, it smells great. There's some fresh apples being sold by a centaur girl right next to the main shop. You can toss in some of those things without having to make it a drop-down list that you have to tell the characters every single time, because they ain't going to write it down. They ain't going to remember it. What's in the town again? Was there a town? What's in the shop? What does the shop sell? Every time. So, technically a little bit more to the city. We are outside of town, and we have reached another point where a murder hobo player may inadvertently brick the game so that nobody can win. Hey, what you doing?
Oh, I'm putting down your table.
This is the healer's hut. It is too late in the day for me to actually get her attention. Fine, we'll just go rest for the next day. I spent too long standing around in town. Come on. Fine. We'll do it the old... There we go. Because my mouse is not actually locked into the game, it doesn't always register. It doesn't always register that my mouse is in the correct spot. So, let's take this opportunity to look at one of the little level up things that this game does. Level 1 character wanders out of town, starts to get dark, turns around, the gate is closed because it's dark outside and there's monsters out there. How do you get back in town? This is something that we have to decide as someone who's making this into a 5th edition game. if we leave it vanilla, as written by the game designers, you have to either climb over the gate or you have to find a spot in the wilderness to rest. And resting in the wilderness automatically kills you every single time. There are three places, I think, that you can rest that doesn't just auto kill you if you're outside, and beginning of the game you don't know where those are. If the players leave town on the first day, maybe have the sheriff shout after them, "Hey, gate closes at sunset, be back or you can't get back in." Hopefully that'll...
At the same time?
Yeah, at the same time. So, that's something we're going to have to think about when we start actually writing down everything. Do we want to keep the gate open all the time? Because technically the monsters can't do anything in town anyway. People don't know that. Or do we officially lock the players out of town at night if they're wandering around at night? This is the inn. The inn is basically also the nice tavern, in that they sell food, technically. I don't even know how much money I have. Oh, we have a lot of money. This is Shamin, the innkeeper. This is Abdullah, a, by modern standards, problematic pretend Arabian guy. But, you know, this was 20-something years ago. 30 years ago now. You get points for buying a meal. You get points for buying this guy a meal. If the players go, "Hey, why is there like these like Arabian Nights style in, like, that doesn't make sense here." Correct. And that's on purpose. These characters all came in on a caravan and got robbed by the brigands. They cannot
like, what's this?
I thought I could buy him a meal, but...
Oh, no, he's... The whole... And hey... But
They can't leave. Not because, like, they were stuck in the past like the player is, but because they don't have enough money. They're from so far away, they had to open an inn in this backwater town and hope to earn enough money to be able to afford to go home. Because travel costs money for everybody who's not an adventurer. They can't murder hobo their way home. So he gives you some clues to things, which we'll look we'll look more deeply into who gives which clues when we're actually starting to write everything down. But for the sake of actually getting through this game and seeing everything, we're going to need, in my opinion, you want to have an outline of your entire campaign. Maybe not every single thing written down perfectly, but you want an idea of all of your big ideas so that you don't get to the end of the campaign and go, whoops-a-daisy, I was supposed to put this in at the beginning and I forgot. Or, oh, the players asked a question that I should have known. Oops, forgot. Because I've done that. I've done that where the players have asked a question and I said, oh, this guy doesn't know because I didn't know, so the character doesn't know. 2 months later, oh crap, that was the character who was intended to give them the hint. So, now that it's daytime, knock knock. As I was saying 5 minutes ago, this is another spot where unscrupulous players might softlock the whole game. This is the healer's hut, and she is not in the town. I don't know a good way of telling the players, no, don't murder hobo your way through everything. Most players don't, and if you're playing with that kind of person, like maybe don't invite them back. Just unless that's the game you want to play. But this is the healer. This is your source of healing potions. And they are reasonably priced for this game's economy. But you can also sometimes inadvertently click right here and steal those 2 healing potions on her table. She won't catch you. You can wander away going, look at me. I'm a thief. I stole something. Good job. She notices after you left. And she won't let you back into her house anymore. And you've now lost access to all healing potions. Not to mention a item that you need to beat the game that only she can give you. So if I were to click and take those 2 potions and walk away, I've lost the game. I could play for another 20 hours. Or, you know, it's not that long of a game. I could play the rest of this game. Can't beat it. Have to start over. Which is a little bit mean in the era of steal everything that's not nailed down. So, this is an easy way to screw up the game. I would just say don't let them steal it. Or if they do manage to steal something, maybe you want... I personally would like to keep the intention of the original designers, which is to punish the player for stealing from somebody who's already being nice to you. I would maybe just up the price of all future healing potions to compensate. So like they go, haha, I got 2 freebies, and maybe they won't even notice they've just started paying double for healing potions for the rest of the game. And then at the end of the campaign you go, oh ho ho, you didn't even notice this, huh? I get mad at players who are just trying to mess with everybody else, because this is something you're going to have to think about. If you go strictly based on what this game was doing, one player can ruin it for everybody by taking this character out. So you got to think of your players. Are they going to ruin the narrative, or are they going to play nice? Because this is going to come up a couple times in this series. That there's recurring characters, there's nice characters. This is Quest for Glory. You are supposed to be a hero. This is a game where like basically the DLC is that you get to be a full-on paladin. This is not a game for being a jerk. So when you have maybe some smaller, less experienced ones in the party, gotta watch out. In terms of actual gameplay, since it's an hour in and we've done basically nothing, there's a bird right there. A winged lizard like the one outside. And if you remember, the healer lost a ring, and she'll remind you right there. If you find a ring on your adventures, bring it back. Oh look, a bird. I think the idea here is it's supposed to be kind of like a raven or something. That's the hint. So there's birdie bird right there. That's where the ring is. Like, there's a bird inside, there's a bird outside, she lost a ring, and if you sit here on this screen long enough, there will actually be a little glint in the nest. So if you're staring at it, occasionally it'll go flash. This would be a perception thing in Dungeons and Dragons. Like, whoever has the highest perception. They're all level 1, right? Your characters are level 1 at the point they're walking by here. Don't make this a DC. Don't make it a difficulty check of 18 or whatever and just look at your players and go, oh, nobody had high enough, nobody sees it. Just grab whoever is the highest and say that they see a bit of shining gold coming from that nest. There it was. Now, we have our first instance of a class-based puzzle. Each of the 3 classes has a different way of getting that ring down. This is one of the reasons that this would make a good Dungeons & Dragons game, because the players have like an infinite number of things that they can try to do it. And maybe you adjust the reward based on which one they do. For our purposes, we are the thief class, so our intended solution is to climb up the tree, balance across the branch, and just take it. That is literally the most difficult way to get that ring. The fighter gets to do things the easy way. Literally throwing a rock will work. My throwing skill is not high enough, but this is the gameplay loop of this game. Every time I make that attempt, there's a chance that my throwing skill goes up, which is not a mechanic in Dungeons & Dragons. That's one of the challenges to transcribing this thing. If we go look at my character sheet, my throwing has gone up 1 point just from throwing 2 rocks. My climbing is at 21 now, and these go to 100 in this game. So I have 21 out of 100 on climbing already, because I had to sit there spamming climb to get back in town last night. The red numbers are just because they're showing you which ones have changed since the last time you looked at the screen. Our strength has gone up, probably from the climbing. Intelligence goes up when you talk to people or when you use magic, which we have not. We don't have any magic, actually, at all. So I could sit here and I could just throw rocks for the next 20 minutes until my throwing number goes high enough that the game says, okay, you've hit the number. We will allow you to hit the nest, knock it down, you walk over, you pick up the ring. Similarly, I can just click on this tree, and eventually it'll let me up the tree. Up, down, up, down. Takes a lot of practice to climb this tree. And so if you're playing a single-player game like this, yeah, you just sit here and do this for a couple of... Maybe every time you walk by, you give the tree a couple tries. I only tried it like 3 times, right? Climbing already went up to 26. We're not talking about a difficult, long process here. %99 chance that your Dungeons & Dragons party is going to come up with option C. Somebody's going to try to climb the tree, somebody's going to try to throw the rock, and the wizard is going to cast Mage Hand. And just grab the nest and bring it down to the ground. That is what is going to happen. And that is the magic user solution. With the caveat that the spell system in this game, you don't start with Mage Hand. Well, it's fetch, telekinetic Jedi. I want that thing from over there, now it's over here. You have to buy the spell from the magic shop, which means you have to go adventuring long enough to earn the money to buy the spell first. So the magic user is not supposed to be able to succeed at that quest right out the gate. They have to go earn it. Money is a major roadblock in this game. And this touches on another issue we're going to have to look at. This is a single-player game. Dungeons & Dragons, you have presumably 3 or 4 people. And one of them is always going to have the easy solution. for one thing, if they could just pool their money and buy something that they weren't supposed to be able to afford yet. And when we start writing things down, we're going to have to convert everything in this game to a gold cost. But then how do you stop the wizard from choosing his spells? You can just change the things in the shop to spell scrolls. That's fine. But Mage Hand is a cantrip that 100% of wizards take. They're going to solve this problem really easy. So maybe, off the top of my head, my solution, if you do not want your players to get that thing too early, don't let the bird fly away. Mage Hand has HP. If somebody swats your Mage Hand,
driving a bus.
if somebody swats your Mage Hand away, it dissipates. The bird can be protecting its nest. Maybe.
My motorcycle is
Shh, Liam. That's probably the solution right there. Leave. Are you going to be quiet?
Yeah.
Or you want to go sit on the floor and play with your tiles?
No.
Okay.
I sit on the floor and play my tiles.
Okay, I'll put you down. Daddy will pick it up. You go play with your tiles. As he's dropping magnets all over the new computer. Anyway. We're going to run into that problem a lot. Games designed for one player, you've probably got 4. In this case, top of my head, leave the bird there so it can swat away a Mage Hand. So at least they have to also throw a rock at the bird to get it to go away. Or climb up the tree or something. Get out of there.
I'm going to get in there.
So.
I'm going to get in there.
I'm not going to be able to get the ring right now because my stats are too low and we're just walking around. Let's see if the game holds itself together. Oh, it does. Big old centaur. This is supposed to be the farm for the village. Like, this guy makes it... Well, I guess that over there is like the orchard that the apples came from. This is the screen that represents the farms. You've got yourself a nice little farmer. You ask him about the brigands, and he tells you about the brigand leader. This is an actual, we got score for it, major hint in the game. He was outside of town because that's where the farm is. The brigands attack him, hurt his leg, and then the brigand leader steps in, berates their own men for attacking the people of the town, and forces them to carry the centaur to the healer's hut. And then they withdraw. That's not normal behavior for brigands, right? That's one of your first tip-offs. Something's weird going on. Whether your players pick up on that or not important to the game. But if anybody thinks to ask, and they make note of it, as a dungeon master, pay attention to who is paying attention and reward those players. Maybe they make a roll and don't quite hit something. Let them hit it. Just little behind the scenes encouragement. Just the same way that the guy who annoys you suddenly can't hit the goblins. Well, now, shouldn't have annoyed you. Don't throw rocks at God. I know some people are going to say, well, don't be mean and toxic to your players.
Get closer.
Try using your feet to get closer.
But the plug is plugging Why for your joy?
Anyway. This is assuming your players are all level 1. You're starting a new campaign, right? Standard advice for all Dungeons and Dragons campaigns. If you let your players get away with literally murdering everybody in town on day 1, that's going to set the tone for the rest of every time you ever play with them. Do whatever game the Dungeon Master does all the work. The Dungeon Master does so much work. If you have sat them down and said, like, hey, this is a heroic game, we're going to play through this thing that's mostly based off of an old game, so it's kind of on rails because there's no other world to go visit right away or whatever, but you know, I've presented a bunch of puzzles and challenges and stuff, and they decide that the solution is to murder hobo their way into stealing everything that's not nailed down. Don't waste your time. If that's not what you want, don't waste your time. And if the players get mad at you because they want to go murder hobo everything, well, they tell them to go play Skyrim. That's what they want. Just go do that. This is the one thing in the game that this character can't do. This is the Sword Master. This is the equivalent of like the super bonus boss. If you have a fighter, paladin, ranger, any fighty type character in your party, set this guy up to be a super strong like NPC that they can spar with. And I will say, there's not a lot of treasure in this game. Top of my head, maybe that's where you get your first magic sword. Let's just say he has a sword +1. If you beat him, he'll give it to you, but he's hard, so they can't get it day 1, right? But it's something to work for, something to think about. They're going to try for it, but it costs. You have to pay him to fight him, so they're not going to just spam until they get a crit. That's what I would do with him. He only shows up in the mornings, I think.
I think it's closer to you.
Oh, you're closer to me now? No.
Oh,
This screen has nothing on it.
You're safe.
There's a guy there. This is the barracks. In the game, in this game, this is it. There's literally nothing you can do here. You can break in, and then the game will just give you a game over screen because you just broke into the guards' barracks. There is literally nothing here. Do I think we should add something? Maybe if they want to chat up a guard. The guards are mostly lazy. They're formidable. They're not... We'll say the guards are probably restless. The guards are perfectly good fighters. I would even say the guards probably are better fighters than the brigands. But they are not being deployed because the boss, the Baron, is too depressed over the loss of his children and the deterioration of the valley. He just... Not only will he not lead the charge like he used to, he just won't tell them to go. He didn't even designate a second in command. I think his son was supposed to be the second in command. So maybe they can talk to the guard and they go, oh, that's why the brigands are not like truly running the valley, because the brigands don't stand a chance against the actual guards, and they know it. So they just go raid all of the caravans and stuff on the way, because the guards are not being deployed. The guards will only defend the last thing they were told to guard. And this screen, the stables. Sometimes you just have to remind your players that they are level 1, and that means that they are basically a farmhand. The farmhand with a pointy stick. Playing through the game, I spent too many days on this screen. This is the only source of money in this game that does not involve killing monsters. This is where your players can go and earn the money to stay at the inn if they haven't figured out another source of income and they've burned through their starting money. It's not enough to actually grind to buy any of the gear. He gives you exactly enough to pay for the inn, because this is the safety valve so that you don't just die. And I like that idea. I like the idea that, like, oh, well, the inn costs money every night, and the players go, we didn't earn any money today. Well, you better go hope that the stableman's still there. You can go muck the stables out. You can technically go up to the... why not? We'll go up there. Let's run. That speed. Yeah, you can go up to the gate. You can talk to the guards. The Baron doesn't come out. The Baron doesn't see anybody. That guy won't even fight us. He'll kick out her butt so hard. Something that most players won't do this, but just to show this off, this is one of those games where the developers have thought of everything. If you just stand here, he will just lower the stupid thing on top of you. The guard, sensing something is awry, raises the portcullis. Well, dummy, don't stand in the doorway. Wonder how much damage that actually does. 2 damage. That's fair. Don't stand under pointy things that are meant to keep people out. It's good advice. Players aren't going to do that. That was just cute. This guy, though... This guy's an interesting one. As with most NPCs in this game, because it's a video game, the game will automatically kill you if you try to fight him. Because you're not supposed to fight the NPCs. But remember, we are a thief. And here's something we're going to have to talk about. You click the hand on people, you make the thief sign. You place your thumb right under your nose. Extend your fingers and wiggle them thusly. That's how you tell people you're a thief without saying, I'm a thief. Talk to the guy in the alley at night for the password. I know he's a thief. He's obviously a thief. You can make the thief sign at anybody, and in the game, only thieves recognize it. Everybody else thinks you're just an idiot. It's so overt, it's covert. So, they have Thieves' Cant in 5th edition. I've always thought that maybe Thieves' Cant should be a... Like, I like the idea of the thief sign better than I like Thieves' Cant. Thieves' Cant was always some idea that, oh, you go and pretend that you're talking the weather about some... You know, oh, hey, it's cloudy today, huh? But you're dropping in weird jargon and stuff so that you and the other person are communicating, but nobody else really understands what you're talking about because you're talking in code, which is dumb. It's kind of taking the idea like the military, like, oh, the package is on the way or whatever, just like you're just substituting nouns. Anybody can tell that you're up to something because you're both speaking nonsense. It's too stupid to work. Now, going like this, yeah, people might just think you're being silly, but sitting here talking in riddles back and forth, people are going to go, oh, they're obviously talking in code 2 feet away. I like the thief sign better. Just some little, like, baseball sign style ear tug, and just see if anybody nearby responds, because if they scratch their nose right afterwards, it's like, oh, that's the guy. I'm going to go talk to that guy. Nobody responds? No thieves here. Better act like you're not a thief.
Is this stuck?
No, that's not stuck, silly. It's in a box.
No, it is in the box.
Anyway, we're in town because we need it to be dark. Rest.
In the box. I thought it was in a box.
We shall rest again.
Was it in the box? Was it in the box?
Leanne, go play with your toys. Go over there. Another quirk to this game is it doesn't let you pass time easily. No, not on my desk. Go play on the floor over there. Here. You play over there.
Oh no!
You'll have to build it again. Another quirk to this game, they don't let you pass time. You can rest and it'll give you some of your stamina and health back, but then you kind of have to wait around before you can do it again. I don't know the intention here. I think it was just because it didn't make sense for your guy to sit on a spot for 7 hours.
I don't know.
But there's so many timer-based events that you have to wait for nightfall for certain things. So why not just there's no wait for nightfall button. They add one later. Click. There we go. Dark. Future games you can wait till nightfall. Dungeons and Dragons. The players are literally just going to say, okay, we wait for it to get dark. The end. You skip ahead. You don't have to do this part. Ooh, there's something sparkling in the alleyway. Surely your players will never fall for the, ooh, there's a sparkly over there trick. Surely that won't happen literally every time you pull that trick, no matter how many times you've done it and no matter how high a level they are. It won't happen every single time. So,
where's it going?
come on. That's weird. There we go. There we go. There's the thief. And thief sign. Just there you go. Sverdfish. So if you have a thief in the group, he can thief his way out of that encounter. That's one potential solution. The fighter, I mean, they're just thieves, and you're in the back alley. Maybe just let them fight the thieves if they want. But if they use the thief sign, they get the password to the Thieves Guild. If you don't have a thief in the party to use the thief sign, then you don't care, because why else would you want to be in the Thieves Guild? Ask about the Thieves Guild. The password is Sverdfish. Swordfish. And Thieves Guild. I think he's supposed to be a reference to like an old movie character, but I'm not old enough to. I get the why do they always give me the begin? Like I get the Italian like mobster kind of vibe, but I don't know the exact reference. These bars back here are the most important bit. you buy the license. And now you have, for the game, 1 Thieves Guild license. What does it do? Just, it makes the thieves just aren't mad at you. We have 1 lockpick.
See this one?
I don't think I have enough. Yeah, I don't have enough money for that. We have a lockpick. We can buy a thieves toolkit. Most thief characters in Dungeons and Dragons are going to start with a thieves toolkit. So let's reward them for getting here by getting, they can get a better one. You know, thieves toolkit. We'll say maybe a masterwork. I don't know if I want to go so far as to give a +1 bonus to something they're going to use for literally their entire career. Liam.
What?
Shh. But you could give them, say you can maybe give them one that they get to reroll 1s. Just 1s. It's still better than the baseline one. Liam, I'm going to make you go in the other room if you keep making noise like that. So, we'll get into the weeds of which item to give where and what they should do later, but because if we start with the Thieves Toolkit normally, I think we should make a better Thieves Toolkit that they can buy. I kind of like the idea of one that just rerolls 1s because it will feel like an amazing, great, imperative, just unstoppable upgrade. They're going to love the item, and it is functionally worthless. But they're going to love it. 5% of the time, you don't get any fudge. Shh, you be quiet, Leo. I know. Now go play with your toys. I told you to play over there. He is starting to get tired, which means he's starting to try to force himself awake by literally banging his head against his toys. Give me 1 moment.